But when I go in the ring, I'm not scared, because at the end of the day, I'm gonna get in there, and when I get in there, I'm gonna hurt them. So it's not about being scared. You have to take that out. Obviously, you're gonna take some punches, this and that, but I think the fighters should be way more scared of me being in there with them than them being in there with me.
But like I said, at the end of the day, I'm not scared of nothing. You know, I accept and I invite war. I know with hard work and you know, and me staying motivated, I know I could be the best in the world, but I just gotta wait my time. I think everybody is starting to see that I'm fearless, I'm relentless, and I'll fight anybody to get my respect in the ring. So the way I've seen him handle my presence is he's definitely scared of me. You know, if you have a fighter talking so much trash in front of you, why don't you make an example of him to the world? Beat me in the ring and make a whole lot of money. But Canelo Alvarez, as you can see from every time he fights a guy that's big with power, like Bivol, you know what I mean? And he's not able to suppress these fighters as much as he's able to suppress the little fighters.
Two of boxing's most dangerous names, and David Benavidez just called out both of them in the same breath. No hesitation, no diplomacy, just a direct warning to Canelo and Opetaia that the Mexican monster is done waiting.
To be honest with you, bro, I take it one step at a time. Right now, we got the good thing about me and David Benavidez's stock, we have a lot of great fights on the table. And you guys know I'm gonna take every single one of them. I'm not gonna run from anything because at the end of the day, this is my destiny. If it's my destiny to go through these hard fights and win these world titles, that's what I'm gonna do. This is what boxing is about. I'm sick of seeing fighters getting the easiest fights just because they're getting the biggest paychecks. Like it don't. At the end of the day, it's not even about money. It's about giving the fans of boxing the fights that they deserve. They're paying the money at the end of the day, so let's go to war. Let's do what these people want to see us do, and let's go to war and may the best man win.
Jai Opetaia has spent years pursuing the biggest challenges available in the cruiserweight division. He argues that their paths should naturally collide if Benavidez is competing for world titles there.
I believe it is, you know, especially him being in cruiserweight, you know, and to me it just makes sense. Like, if he's fighting for a world title in my division, why don't people want to see who the best is in the division? Like, it doesn't not make sense to me if we don't fight. You know what I mean? Like, he's coming up fighting for a undisputed, like a unification fight, and he's going to be holding the WBO and WBA. It just doesn't make sense to me that we wouldn't fight. You know, all I got to do is keep winning and keep doing my job.
Doubling down on that same challenge, Opetaia warns that anyone overlooking his power will discover the mistake once the action begins.
I believe if you chase the punch too much, you're going to make too many mistakes. So, you know, we just got to fight smart, and the punches will come. You know, and I believe the way I box as well, and my speed and my ability, a lot of people underestimate my power, you know what I mean? But they learn quick when I'm in the ring. So it's just about fighting smart, doing our thing. You know, we're born for this, you know, we live for these moments. So we just got to prepare properly and deliver on fight day.
Cutting through the noise with a simple question, Max Kellerman, who has spent years evaluating fighters beyond promotional narratives and sanctioning body politics, insists the answer should come down to one thing: who is actually better? A victory would eliminate the uncertainty surrounding supremacy in the division.
Earn the right to fight.
When you come into someone else's division who's already the Ring Magazine champion, you have no leg to stand on to say they don't have, this is not legacy for me, they're not big enough yet. He's the champ of the division.
Turning that same logic back onto Benavidez himself, Kellerman argues that Benavidez was using the same reasoning he once condemned Canelo for using. The contradiction could undermine Benavidez's argument for avoiding the fight.
The problem is Benavidez is now using the same excuse to avoid fighting Opetaia as Canelo used to avoid fighting Benavidez. Well, he doesn't really have anything for me yet. He has to build himself up. What does he really bring to the table? I'm looking for legacy fights. Canelo's chasing sanctioning body belts and all that stuff, but it was all nonsense. And Canelo, who's never ducked anyone in his career, except Benavidez at super middleweight, was wrong. And Benavidez should have gotten his shot. And right now, I believe Benavidez is wrong.
Speaking with the authority of someone who's guided David's entire career, Jose Benavidez Sr., who has spent years guiding David through the highest levels of professional boxing, credits recognition from a legend like Chavez with proving that his performances can no longer be ignored. That validation strengthens the argument that David has earned his place among the sport's most dangerous names.
Yeah, you know, to be honest with you,
You know, to be honest with you, Julio Cesar Chavez can say whatever the fuck he wants. He's the fucking champion. He's the Hall of Fame. He's my hero. He's everything, you know. To me, to be honest, whatever he says, I don't take bad. I listen to what he says, you know. And you know what? Okay, we're gonna work hard. We're gonna keep working hard and keep proving. Oh, you give us that recognition, and we got it on Saturday. You know?
Pushing that same argument toward urgency, Jose insists the current plans should be abandoned in favor of making the championship showdown immediately. He believes delaying the matchup creates unnecessary risk because an injury, unexpected loss, or another career detour could derail the fight and completely alter the path toward determining the division's true number one.
They can do whatever the fuck they want, you know, to be honest with you, you know? Why not take the fight with David Benavidez, you know? Or we take your belts away. And that's the plan, you know. In my opinion, that fight, you know, he can get injured. I will cancel that fight and let's make the fight with David Benavidez. Let's go. Let's make it happen.
Raising doubts about how genuine that urgency really is, Bernie the boxer, who has followed the negotiations and criticism surrounding Benavidez's pursuit of Canelo, questions the seriousness behind the repeated callouts. He argues that refusing the proposed condition would undermine Benavidez's claims of wanting the fight, shifting the pressure completely onto the challenger.
If he don't want the fight as bad as he say he do. Nah, for real. For real, Canelo a 68-pounder. He really ain't a 68-pounder, okay? He really ain't a 68-pounder. So you keep calling Canelo, you not the man. You saying Canelo's still the man. So you gotta do what the boss say.
Revealing what has changed behind the scenes, David describes a completely different preparation process built around adding muscle instead of cutting weight. The shift allows him to prioritize strength, size, and overall physical development while still maintaining the intense training habits and relentless work ethic that have defined his camps.
I mean, I've been training for the past 5 weeks, and it's just, this camp is gonna be different because, you know, we're putting on more muscle. You know, I already got the training part down and like losing weight part down, but now it's different because I'm not gonna be losing no weight. You know, the weight is gonna come off by itself in 10 weeks. You know, I train like an animal.
Making a promise that goes beyond simply collecting wins, David vows to use those opportunities to pursue the toughest challenges available, rather than taking carefully selected opponents. His goal is to prove himself against the division's most dangerous names, creating the kind of high-stakes fights that could define his career and leave a lasting impression on fans.
That date is not, it doesn't belong to one fighter. It was Julio Cesar Chavez, Oscar De La Hoya, Floyd Mayweather, Canelo. It's the people who give the best fights in boxing. And you know, what I want to do is not only have these dates, but put the best possible fights on there. You know, I feel like when fans come out to see me fight.
Backing that same hype with a technical breakdown, Tim Bradley, a former world champion known for breaking down elite matchups, has already embraced the growing Benavidez hype. He predicts the Mexican star would overwhelm the Australian technician by dragging him into a brutal fight, believing Opetaia's movement could disappear once Benavidez forces him into exchanges.
I double down on that one. He gonna beat Opetaia. See, Opetaia got good feet. Yeah, he can box, but he can be drugged into a fight. And if you know anything about David Benavidez, just like he did with Ramirez, he's the one of those guys that's gonna test your heart. He gonna test what you have in here. And once he go to Ja's ass and he tests what he has in here, Ja gonna lose his shit. Ja ain't gonna be boxing and moving around. Ja gonna be looking to fight. Ja gonna get tired too. Yeah, because Ja, if you look at the history of Ja Opetaia, he get tired.
Offering a counterpoint that complicates that prediction, Tim believes Benavidez's effectiveness could depend heavily on how well he controls positioning and distance. If an opponent can exploit openings created by his forward pressure, that tactical challenge could disrupt David's rhythm and prevent him from simply overwhelming the fight through constant aggression.
He squares up. And as you saw, yes, he can make it work for himself. Yes. You know, dipping, getting outside, body shot here, dipping this way, body shot, you know, putting them motorboat combinations on his ass, putting them combinations on his opponent, you know, hey, single right hand, straight left hook. Oh, David is sweet. Them fast ass hands, he is sweet with it. But when we talking about a bigger fighter, somebody's been reigning at heavyweight, somebody that's, hey, look, has to be perfect or had to be perfect when he faced those bigger champions like Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. had to be perfect now. Think about that, because all it takes in the heavyweight division is one shot.
Shifting back to Benavidez's physical evolution, Tim credits him with becoming noticeably stronger, faster, and more dangerous as his career has progressed. He suggests that added size, power, and explosiveness could make a return to a lower weight class especially difficult, as David's physical advantages may become even more pronounced against smaller opponents.
Because the power and the speed, the combination that he had, was lethal. Better than I ever seen it in his career, period. So going down to 175, going down to 168 pounds, that weakened David. David is a naturally bigger guy. He is. You know, he always has been big his entire life. You know, as a kid, he talks about that, being the little short, fat kid that used to get bullied all the time.
Adding a young contender's perspective to the conversation, Floyd Schofield Jr., an undefeated rising fighter who has been building toward his own championship opportunity, gives David Benavidez an emphatic endorsement. He highlights the Mexican monster's unusual blend of speed, size, physical strength, and relentless pressure, arguing that those attributes make David an extremely difficult matchup for anyone in the division.
I actually fell asleep. Ain't even gonna lie. It was late. Not because it wasn't exciting, but it was late. I was already tired. I had trained, so I was asleep. But when I woke up, I watched the round where he got stopped in, and his speed is crazy. For a big guy, I ain't gonna lie. I don't see nobody beating David for a long time.
Tempering that endorsement with a broader look at Benavidez's future, Schofield Jr. continues to favor him while acknowledging that the larger weight class could provide tougher and more meaningful challenges. He suggests the deeper competition at cruiserweight would allow David to test his abilities against bigger, stronger opponents and further strengthen his claim among the sport's elite.
You know, he didn't get Glenn out of there, so, I mean, I think Jai Opetaia, like I said, he could beat Benavidez, but it all depends who comes in better that night. But I would definitely favor Benavidez. But I just don't think he has, I think he would have more comp at heavyweight. We would have to see, though.
Breaking down exactly what makes Benavidez so difficult to contain, Bernie emphasizes that his threat goes far beyond simply throwing a high number of punches. He points to David's blend of speed, power, accuracy, and sharp combinations, allowing him to keep opponents under constant pressure while attacking from different angles. That combination of physical tools and offensive variety makes his relentless style much harder to anticipate, withstand, and counter.
And so he blew him out. David got him out of there. I'm not a fan of the pity pat, but he did more than pity pat. When I watched that slow motion, he had speed that you can dream for, and he had power on them punches. So I like the way he broke him down. You know, he pot shot him a little bit, and then he used the combinations to keep the kid off balance, and then he got him out of there. So,
bringing his own explosive fighting background into the analysis, Zab Judah, a former undisputed world champion known for his explosive instincts and sharp fight analysis, was asked whether David Benavidez could handle Jai Opetaia. He remains convinced that Benavidez's unique switch would overwhelm the opposition, confident that the unbeaten Mexican's pressure and power could make even elite opponents look helpless.
Zab don't even want to look
Stop, Mills. Come on, Mills. Cut this bullshit out, man.
Oh, shit.
Nigga, it's...
Nah.
Yeah, yo, remember that little clock with the thing in the middle and they go... Watch. I guarantee you. He go, boy, my man getting the switch. The switch is coming, yo. It's over.
Downplaying Opetaia's position in the cruiserweight hierarchy, Jose argues that the Australian still sits beneath the division's most dangerous names and views the matchup as a less significant test for David Benavidez. His focus remains on opponents who can genuinely challenge David, elevate his reputation, and leave a lasting mark on his legacy, not simply provide another championship belt for the resume.
Of course.
Yeah, that's the priority.
That's the priority because, like I said, these are the dangerous fighters. These are the monsters of the division, To me, it's like taking a tune-up with Opetaia at this point. We say we want to fight the monsters. We want to fight the guys, the real danger. And I believe that at this point right now, Bivol and Benavidez are the dangerous fighters.
at this point.
Firing back in defense of his own standing, Zurdo Ramirez points to his championship credentials while questioning the quality of opposition Jai Opetaia has faced at cruiserweight. With the division's biggest fights moving closer, he argues that Jai still needs to defeat more proven elite contenders before he can convincingly establish himself as the division's undisputed top fighter.
His whole career, he's been fighting long time in this division, but I think he needs to be fighting with different guys, better guys.
Offering his own comparison between two of the division's biggest threats, Zurdo has closely studied the different challenges each fighter could bring at cruiserweight. In his view, the Mexican monster would pose the tougher test because of his relentless forward pressure, high punch output, physical strength, and ability to unleash combinations in succession. That non-stop pace could force opponents into prolonged exchanges and leave little room to reset or dictate the action.
Opetaia, he moves, he takes some chance, and David Benavidez, he's pushing, he's going forward all the time, he never gets tired, and I mean, he has a lot of combination, a lot of volume of punching. Yeah.
Closing out the breakdown by tracing Benavidez's own transformation, Zurdo has watched him evolve from a promising young fighter into a far more aggressive and relentless version of himself. He points to the Mexican challenger's increased punch output, constant forward movement, and willingness to stay on opponents, qualities that have turned his pressure into one of his biggest weapons. That evolution has made Benavidez increasingly difficult to discourage once he establishes his rhythm, allowing him to overwhelm opponents with sustained activity rather than relying on a single explosive moment.
Because he throws more punches, he's constantly like pushing to the guys, and I mean I just can say like don't miss the fight, be a great fight.
So you're expecting like toe to toe, like
yeah, I'm expecting a war,
blood,
yeah, everything,
knockouts, knockdowns. Maybe, yeah.
A warning aimed at two of boxing's biggest names and a fighter who refuses to back down from either one. Does Benavidez finally force Canelo's hand, or does Opetaia get the shot first? Drop your prediction in the comments and stay tuned until next time.